Howdy, CharLee here. CharLee Simons, your host here on Do Not Talk, talking about two things you're never supposed to talk about: politics and religion. Talking to people you're not supposed to talk to. Oh no, we don't talk to those people. Well, of course I do. Then don't ever tell me I can't talk to somebody, because that's who I'm gonna go after and try and get them on the show. I don't want to be just like all the other podcasters. You can get all the big name celebs and politicians and so on other shows. Forget that. Most of those people aren't very interesting to me anyway. People like COURTENAY Turner are interesting to me. She's my guest today on the show. Let me read this to you. This is a little bio from her LinkedIn page. I'm a podcast host, author, speaker, and strategic analyst focused on technocracy, power structures, geopolitics, and the socio-cultural zeitgeist, dedicated to equipping audiences with the tools to navigate complexity and centralized control in an area of accelerating disruption. What? What the hell? What does that mean? I'm just a good old boy from Bakersfield. Man, you have confused the heck out of me. I saw her in a text thread, an article she wrote that it's about the factory reset. And I thought, this is interesting. And I like talking to people who are smarter than me, which, believe me, that doesn't exactly narrow things down too much. But I got her on the show, and I want to find out more about those things and what she's talking about. And I think you do too. I want to ask you too to go to my website and buy some products of mine, would you please? On my little merch store tab there. Let's talk about politics and religion. Come on, we're about to celebrate our 250th birthday here on the greatest nation to ever grace this planet. You need this. Take this to your workplace. That'll be great. What a conversation starter. I also have hats like this one. Yeah, wear this to your work. Trump was right about everything. I got all kinds of hats. I got shirts. I got all kinds of fun stuff at CharLeeSimons.com. Right there it is. CharLeeSimons.com. CharLeeSimons.com. To fix my phone that I just pulled out of its case and everything while I'm wasting time instead of talking to COURTENAY Turner. So let's stop screwing around. Let's get to it. Ready? Hit it. Tell me what's going on with hey, how about your book? Let's talk about your book.
Sure. So it's called The Final Betrayal, How Technocracy Destroyed America. We called it a cautionary tale. However, it is looking less and less like cautionary tale as the months go on. I co-authored it with Patrick Wood, who is the living expert on technocracy. He's been warning us for decades now about technocracy.
And why don't you tell me? I don't know about everybody else, but I have no idea what technocracy is. What is that?
All right. So the Technocrat magazine in 1937 actually defined it as the science of social engineering. So there, I can see if I can pull up the quote so that I don't have to paraphrase it. But let me see, Technocrat. Okay, so here it is. The quote is, "Technocracy is the science of social engineering, this scientific operation of the entire social mechanism to produce and distribute goods and services to the entire population of this continent. For the first time in human history, it will be done as a scientific technical engineering problem. There will be no place for politics, politicians, finance or financiers, rackets or racketeers. Technocracy states that the method of operating the social mechanisms of the North American continent is now mandatory because we have passed from a state of actual scarcity into the present status of potential abundance, in which we are now held to an artificial scarcity forced upon us in order to continue a price system which can distribute goods only by means of a medium of exchange. Technocracy states that price and abundance are incompatible. The greater abundance, the smaller the price. In a real abundance, there can be no price at all. Only by abandoning the interfering price control and substituting a scientific method of production and distribution can abundance be achieved. Technocracy will distribute by means of certificate of distribution available to every citizen from birth to death. The technate, which is, I have the technocracy study course from Hubert. Hubert and Scott were the ones who created Technocracy Inc. back in 1932 out of Columbia University. Interestingly enough, Brzezinski was there at Columbia at the same time. And this is, of course, where the Frankfurt School comes out of, Columbia University as well. So the technate, that's the map, right? So when Trump keeps talking about acquiring like Greenland and South America, you can see this is the map of the technate. And that is what he is talking about. So the technate will encompass the entire North American continent from Panama to the North Pole, because the natural resources and the natural boundaries of this area make it an independent, self-sustaining geographical unit. Technocracy's blueprints have been designed for this continent and for no other. It is an American plan for the American continent. No imported political philosophies, including democracy, are in any way applicable. It goes on. I won't read the rest of it, but I wanted to, yeah.
You know what I'm always looking out for, the boogeyman for me is the one new world order, one world government, which we know, according to scripture, if you're a follower of Christ Jesus, as I am, you believe that is going to happen. You know that's going to happen because it says so in the Word. Talk about Revelation and so on, the beast system, the Antichrist, all that. When's that going to happen? And the whole thing about the cryptocurrency and or digital currency and everything, the high, what do they call it? High universal income for everybody.
I have a whole series on that on my Substack. The universal high income, the technocratic unconscious is the title of the first article, but it's a 5-part series though. Yeah.
How is that? I mean, this is great. I get that. Look, we'll take care of our entire continent here, and you all do your thing and lose your minds over there, but we'll be doing just fine here. We have everything we need here. We've expanded beyond the borders of just the United States of America. Let's all synergistically work together to make ourselves just the best continent on the planet, right? I mean, seriously, from the north to the south, we got it all covered. Everyone else, go ahead and lose your minds. Asia, Russia, Europe, whatever you want to do, Africa, just go crazy with the cheese whiz. Just leave us alone. We'll be over here. And by the way, we have abundance. So if you want to buy some stuff from us, fantastic. Bully on you. We'll tariff the heck out of you, and we will we'll all be living large. That's not the New World Order. That's not the one world government that I've always been talking about. This is something different, isn't it? How realistic is that? Do you think that that's happening or could happen, or what's the benefits? What's the drawbacks of that?
Well, it looks like it is happening, and I think it is related to the one world governance structure.
You do? Okay.
The system. Absolutely. So the book, The Final Betrayal, is really about how, we were sold this promise of MAGA, make America great again. And I think a lot of people, when they heard that, thought that would be something akin to restoring constitutional values, a constitutional renewal.
I did. That's what I thought. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I think that's how many Americans did see it. And so unfortunately, it looks like what he really did was hand the keys over to Silicon Valley. And so we seem to be having this dark enlightenment philosophy that has very much infiltrated the administration and is very much running policy in many regards. So there was also the MAHA, right, which is Make America Healthy Again. And this is, again, the slogan, the acronym itself is something I support. I mean, who can argue with Make America Healthy Again? I'm all on board with getting rid of seed oils, getting rid of toxic, food
colorings.
Yeah, I mean, these are all things.
Flavorings, fake flavorings, anything chemical, get it out.
Absolutely. I am all on board with all of that. However, I was very concerned even before Trump took office that MAHA was really going to be what RFK explained is actually MABA, Make America Biotech Accelerate. And my concern was that he's a proponent of AI precision medicine. And the day after Trump took office, we saw this because he takes office. And then we had, what did we have? He didn't even wait a full 24 hours. It was Project Stargate was announced, right? And I remember, I tell this story all the time because it was very striking to me. Trump is asking about the future of medicine. And I saw no doctors on the stage, by the way, but we have Sam Altman, who gets up and, as far as I'm concerned, muttered something pretty much unintelligible. It was useless. And then we got Larry Ellison, who came on stage and, came to the rescue. He had all the answers. And essentially, he advocated for AI precision medicine. And so he started talking about, genomics and how we could use genomics in order to predict your risk for things like cancer, and that we could use mRNA technologies in order to prevent cancer. This is a form of AI precision medicine. And RFK Jr., and we have a section in the book talking about this, but RFK Jr. had said that MAHA is a big part of MAHA is MABA, Make America Biotech Accelerate. And when I heard this, I nearly fell out of my chair, because that's accelerate is a derivative of accelerationism, which is a huge proponent of the Dark Enlightenment philosophy. The best way I could sum it up colloquially for people would be, many remember Mark Zuckerberg saying how we have to move fast and break things. And if we're not breaking things, we're not moving fast enough. This is kind of a way to, summarize the ethos of accelerationism. It is much more complicated than that. I actually wrote an article called Into What Anthropology on my Substack that people can look at. It's a much deeper dive into left accelerationism, right accelerationism, which both attribute Nick Land as their father. However, Nick Land looks at both of them and thinks they're kind of laughable, because he says you both suffer from human delusionalism, thinking that, this accelerationist philosophy has anything to do with humans at all. He's famous for saying nothing human makes it out of the near future. And he subscribes to unconditional accelerationism. So essentially, they believe that capitalism is going to reach an apocalyptic stage, technology and capitalism, and that we should just push it to the nth degree. He sees the technology as being retrocausal, or retrotronic. So essentially, he believes that it's not us building this technology that's going to be the future to replace us. They're using us as nodes in their future system. So it's a, like going back in time kind of philosophy. But yeah, so RFK Jr. also said, as part of MAHA, that every American by the end of 4 years should be equipped with a wearable. Why would we need to be equipped with a wearable? I have no judgment on people who use wearables. I think they can be a great tool.
What is that? What's a wearable?
Like a fitness tracker, right? A biometric tracker. So like
everybody's I was seeing a commercial for a ring called Aura or something like that.
Ring, yeah.
It tracks everything and whatever you need.
Aura Ring is one of the popular ones, but they have many. There's Aura Ring, there's the Whoop, there's Apple Watches. I mean, there's Garmin has one. There's many, but the idea is that everyone should be equipped. Now, again, I have no problems with people using, biometric data for their own, personal health, and people can make improvements based on that data. I think that can be useful for people. However, why is it so important to him that every American be equipped with a wearable? Maybe it's because he's interested in something called the Internet of Things, which is where everything is interconnected, right? So that biometric data gets now collected, and you become part of a feedback loop. I talk about something called the cybernetic organism. The cybernetics is a field that came out of Norbert Wiener. The Macy conferences were really studying this phenomenon, but essentially it's about feedback loops. And the cybernetic organism would be like where everything really globally would end up being a social credit kind of a system. But I say cybernetic organism because it's a little bit more encompassing, and it also gives you the essence of a gamified society. And so this is where I think things like the fitness trackers are a really great example to help people really understand this, because what do you do when a lot of people, when they wear these trackers, they enter into these kind of games, right? They compete with their friends for steps or, whatever it is. Then they may get tokens. In some cases, they win money. There are like various apps that do that. And so now this is getting into where you're entering like a gamified kind of a cybernetic organism, right? You're rewarded for certain behavior, you're penalized for others. And now imagine if that were tokenized, which is where everything is going.
You get a little reward.
Yes.
You get a little gold star. You get a little lollipop at the end of the dental exam. That's fantastic. Good on you.
If you've heard Larry Fink, who is the CEO of BlackRock, or he's also now the co-chair of the World Economic Forum, or Howard Lutnick, they've been talking about how we need to tokenize everything. And so really what we wrote this book to do, because a lot of people are not familiar, we wanted to show, we wrote it in real time. It's a very short book. Patrick has written a sequel, which is a longer book. But this is a very short book. It was very important to him that it'd be short. Anybody who's read my Substack knows that, succinctness is not my strong suit. So this was challenging for me to do. But he was a great teacher. I've not written a book before. I've written many book length articles, but not a formal book. So this was done in real time, though. So we wanted to show people the regulatory infrastructure, the groundwork that was being laid for technocracy to be able to take hold. And most people were not aware of it. And we were learning real time. I mean, I remember in real time, like things would be, executive orders would be presented, bills were being passed, and I would be messaging him like, do we include this? Because I can't tell what'll happen. I don't have a crystal ball, but I know this is what's being passed right now. So, but he felt it was important that we put it in anyway. And so we did. So the people have a documented record of the regulatory infrastructure that has become the groundwork for technocracy. And in terms to answer your question, the B system, right, that ties into the cybernetic organism. It's all about what's being laid right now. And it's not just in America. This is global. We can get into, I think that's really what.
But first they have to get us on board.
Well,
we've always been the only nation standing in the way of the whole just sweep everything out and get your new world order going. We've always been the ones standing in the way of that with our pesky little Bill of Rights and our pesky little Constitution protecting those rights.
That's absolutely true.
So they've got to get us on board if we're gonna, if they're gonna usher in their little system, which. Yeah, I'm hearing so many conflicting things right now. I have friends who are telling me, Charlie, you're being fooled, because I think our president's doing a great job, and I like him, and I'm glad he's there, and he's done some extraordinary things. And they're telling me, don't be fooled. This is all, it's like two different wings flying the same dirty bird that's rushing us headlong into hell, is what they say. And I'm like, no, this is different. And the United States of America was built on biblical principles and divinely inspired. And we are set apart. We are sanctified. The rest of the world can lose their minds. But the United States of America, in God we trust. And it is going to happen. The end of days will happen. Jesus is going to return. He's going to rule from earth with this, with those of us who love him. And that's going to be fantastic. And there we will be with our Lord forever, wherever he is, whether it's on earth or in heaven, we will be with our Lord Christ Jesus. That's all I want. But I don't want to promote something that goes against God. I don't want to promote something that is fooling people or lulling them into a false sense of security, because I've got folks on the other side, and many of them have been on my show. Oh no, we're going into the golden age. We're going into the golden era. This is the best time to be. No, tell me.
Well, it's based on traditionalism, capital T traditionalism, which is a esoteric philosophy that comes out of Rene Guénon and Julius Evola. So it's essentially a form of perennialism. It's not the same metaphysics as perennialism, like Madame Blavatsky type of theosophy, perennialism, but it is.
I'm lucky to have finished Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. I don't know these people you're talking about. I don't understand what you're saying.
Okay. Well, so are you familiar with Madame Blavatsky and theosophy?
No, and somebody else was driving a Volvo. I don't know who are these people. What is all that?
Well, okay. I do want to address something because what you were saying in terms of Trump, in terms of this country. I do think you should read actually the Factory Reset. You can listen to it. You can use a free upgrade if you use that already. I'll give you a comp and let you read it.
Good, thank
But
you.
you
Yeah,
can listen to it. You don't even have to read it. It's a 4.5 hour listen. So it's a very long. It's longer than this book.
I drive a lot.
Okay, so it'll be great listening, but I think you will enjoy it because I do talk about the biblical principles. In fact, I also wrote another article recently that's much shorter called "The Root and the Fruit," which I think you will enjoy very much. It does go to the biblical foundation of what it means to be a human. And yes, this country was founded on biblical principles, particularly the Declaration of Independence. The metaphysics of the Declaration of Independence codified. It's the only document in the entire world that codifies in legal political philosophy, legal political document, the metaphysics that are in the Bible. However, we have strayed very far away from that, and these technocratic encroachments are completely eroding that. It is what I try to defend constantly, and it is what I try to inculcate and educate people on, because unfortunately, our education system has done a terrible job. People say religion was taken out, but I would say it was inverted. We are taught very much.
Civics was taken out. We don't even know anything about our own American government.
Yes, exactly. So civics was taken out.
Not an accident.
No. I don't think so either. I think religion was inverted. So I think, and I will get to Blavatsky in a second, because I think the perennialist philosophy was very much replacing the traditional biblical framework. And yes, we have the First Amendment. It's not about forcing the children, but what was really taken out is metaphysics. That is what they should be taught, because it is the metaphysical foundation of the Declaration of Independence, which is what the legal document of the Constitution is predicated upon. So all this to say, so I do agree, that yes, we were, but if you do look at the Bible, they don't talk about America. We are not mentioned in the Bible in the end days.
No.
So that is
unless you believe we're Mystery Babylon, which I've had other people tell me that's who we are.
I don't. I'm not qualified to make those kind of predictions. But I will just say, just like a literal statement, factual statement, it's not listed, it's not named. The Middle East is very much named, and we're seeing a lot of things shift. And what is going on right now with our current administration and Trump, definitely, he's got his own personal dealings very much with the Middle East. Some would say, and I'm not making a legal statement here, but some might say that it's a bit of a violation of the emolument clause, because what he is doing is using geopolitical diplomacy as cover for personal financial investments dealings. And that is concerning, very much concerning.
Say that one more time again, please. I'm sorry. Say that again.
He's using a geopolitical diplomacy as cover for
Who is?
Trump, Kushner, Witkoff. Well, Kushner and Witkoff are not in the administration, so that's fine. But Trump's the president, and he is using a geopolitical diplomacy, right, as cover for his own personal investment deals. So things like the World Liberty Financial, right? That's he had $500 million was invested from the Gulf Sovereign Wealth Funds into the World Liberty Financial, which is his own stable coin. And that was in exchange for AI chips. So that's a deal. It's a private deal. That's just one example. There's many going on, but that's one private deal, but it's a big deal. And it's very much, in my opinion, why the Clarity Act is being rammed down their throats right now. The Clarity Act, which we talk about, we covered this quite extensively in the book. So the Clarity Act was initially part of the Genius Act. They had to take it out because the banks pushed back so hard against it. And so they took it out, and then it got so much resistance from many different factions. And now people tend to like to make this political. People like Elizabeth Warren have, and I didn't think I'd be agreeing with her really on anything, but she's been a vocal advocate against the Clarity Act. I agree with her for very different reasons than why she is advocating against it. But I do agree. It's kind of like the school choice issue. When I went to advocate against school choice at the state capitol, my allies ended up being the Democrats for completely different reasons. We were opposed to school choice, but they were opposed to it for completely different reasons than I was. And I said, you know what, we're both opposed. Let's just align regardless, because we just want to make sure this thing does not pass. But I knew the history of it. You know, Charlotte Iserbyt warned about school choice. She said that it would be passed through the Republicans. She said that. And she knew, because she was a whistleblower under the Reagan BEST project, Better Education Through Technology, right? And so she really did warn us, and I happen to know that history. So when I was talking to my state representatives, they kept telling me, we're the Republicans, we're the good guys. And I tried to explain to them there's something called the Hegelian dialectic. I don't really care if you have an R or a D in front of your name. I care about the Constitution, and I care that you stand behind it. Both the state, but of course the federal as well. And I care about parental rights, and you're violating them. So that was my concern. But yeah, so that is kind of where things are.
I got to say, I'm starting to think more and more that I don't need to be questioning who I am, because I have no problems with technological advances, mechanical ones. But when it comes to the internet, even back in the 90s when Bill Clinton was saying, you know, every child should have access to the internet. And I was always asking, why? Why? Why is that so important to you? I pray for discernment. I believe the Lord gives it to me. That's why I didn't take the shot. It just seems so clear to me. No, something's not right. This is not a good plan. This is a very bad one. And I paid the price for it over and over and over again. Yeah. But I don't have the health complications and so on, like I'm seeing family and friends who are having, who did take it. And AI, I got so many in my business saying, oh, CharLee, I'll make it so much easier. You'll get these great thumbnails. Artificial intelligence will design it for you. It'll look so professional. It's so easy. Here's how you do it. I even had Scott McKay walk me through it as we were having breakfast. He showed me how to do it and everything. He's the one, by the way, you keep talking about metaphysical stuff. He's like into all that. And he tries to explain it to me, but I guess I just don't have that brain. I'd like to know more though. So you got to sometimes explain it to me like I'm 12.
Yeah.
But, I have avoided using artificial intelligence completely. It seems to me the whole ring thing, the whole watch thing, what a complete waste. Really? That's just people who want to be on board with what's cool and hip at this moment. And it seems to be that. Is it really that much better and that much more convenient? And what is that going to lead to, though? So now we get to a point, and here's where I'm leading with this. Yeah. It's all leading to the mark. Yeah. It's all leading to the mark of the beast. We're going to get so accustomed to having it right there and everything's so easy. Oh, yeah, but I lost my ring and everything was terrible. Or somebody cut off my hand to get my ring, that kind of stuff. Perhaps if we had a chip we could implant somewhere that would be real convenient for people to scan, like at the doctor's office, get your temperature now across the forehead. I'm like, I don't want another microwave against my head. But I've come across as that guy out in the country who's completely technophobic. That's the new term. I'm technophobic. I don't want any of it. Yes, I utilize computers, and I think it's extraordinary invention, and what a great thing. I wouldn't even be able to do this show now without it. But when it comes to all these other things that are happening, I'm sitting over here on the side going, everybody slow down. Wait a minute. Let's think about where this might be going. Let's stop. But they're not. They're rushing headlong right into it, it seems like.
Yeah, so I don't have a problem with technology. There's a big difference between technocracy and technology. So the actual movement of Technocracy Inc., like I said, was erected in 1932 out of Columbia University. It was Howard Scott and Hubert, and they had this idea that it would be a response to the Great Depression. So they would solve the problems. Remember when I read that description, they were talking about the price system. So they were saying they would solve that problem as a technical, managerial problem instead of as a financial. But it is a new economic system. That's essentially what it is. And it is this idea that everybody will have a certificate. and an energy certificate is what they called it, which is kind of like these carbon credits that you hear of today. Very similar kind of concept. As you heard in the definition, it was from cradle to grave, right? And it's not transferable. You can't like give it away. You can't once you're gone, it's gone. You just have a finite amount. And so this is kind of the model for what people like Elon Musk, whose grandfather was Josh Halderman, and he was actually head of Technocracy Inc. in Canada. When he got kicked out, he joined this party called the Social Credit Party. So when Elon talks about the universal high income, this is not a new idea. This is in his family lineage. Now, critics will say, oh, his grandfather died when he was young, and, he didn't really know about technocracy. I don't think that's true. His grandfather did die when he was young, but he's clearly adopting these principles. He's very much an arch technocrat. So technocracy is not the same thing as technology. So like the example you gave of the wearables, I don't think the wearables alone are a problem. Like I said, there are some people who can really be helped by a wearable. People who are have reversible types of health issues, where they can track their own biometric data and they can make
blood pressure, diabetes,
yeah,
absolutely. Stroke victims, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I see that too. Absolutely.
Athletes can use it to, tweak their performance, enhance their, make sure they're getting optimal sleep. There's definitely benefits to it. My problem with it is when that data gets exported and it's being consolidated.
And there it is.
Of course.
Who's gathering it? Where does it go from there?
Now
they're tracking you everywhere you stink and go. I will never buy. Never say never. I have no interest in buying a new vehicle. I won't just have no interest in it because it's now set up to where they will track you anywhere and everywhere, and they can shut down your vehicle anytime they want, especially if it's electric. That's real. And people don't talk about it. I don't see it in the media. I don't see anybody concerned about it. Well, I'm basically a good person. I don't break any laws until they change the laws. And now you are a lawbreaker, including, even posting scripture.
There's so many
things with Mark Zuckerberg and all those other clowns showing up for President Trump's inauguration. And everybody's like, oh, this is great, kinder, gentler. They're gonna be accepting conservatives again. They're finally coming on board. No, they're not. They're liars. They're deceivers. They're doing the devil's work just as quickly as possible, for his time is short. It was just that summer that I did a show about Pride Month and what a joke and a scam that is. Meta deleted every single one of my pages on Facebook and Instagram, which they own. YouTube has now put 2 strikes against me. One more, they're pulling the whole thing, owned by Google. I thank God for Rumble, rumble.com/do not talk. Please follow this channel while you're there. Please, if that's where you're watching, follow this channel. That helps. Hit that like button too. That really helps with the algorithm thing, which again, that's just it's ridiculous that all of us have to keep saying that. But that's the reality of it. We don't get traction, we don't get growth, we don't get promoted by the platform, including Rumble, until they start seeing some interaction. So if you comment or you
algorithm,
hit the like, it does work, but it's sad to me. I don't like it. I don't like having to say that all the time and remind people to do that. And now all these podcasters, they have their own language now. So I'm excluded from that group too, because I don't say smash that like button, smash that like. They all say the same thing. It's weird to me how they all just kind of like all get on board, and it's this collective beehive mindset. It seems like both on the left and on the right. And then there's people like me sitting back going, I'm going to start reading the Bible and get close with the Lord, because this just all seems too crazy. Oh, no, CharLee, it's going to be great. And we're going back to the gold standard. Well, it'll be a mix of gold standard and
We're not going back to the gold standard.
and cryptocurrency. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Why is cryptocurrency in there if we're going back to the gold standard? Well, we're getting rid of the Fed. Yeah, no, I get that. And that's fantastic. That's a great idea. That's a corrupt, ridiculous system designed to topple governments and people.
They're not getting rid of the Fed. In fact, Trump's World Liberty Financial, he marketed as the truth dollar, right? To avoid cancellation, the cancel culture, but it's the USD one. Actually, it was just last week that they were saying that they might get Fed acknowledgement. So it doesn't look like the Fed is going away anytime soon. Yeah. So that's really where it's headed and this is not just the United States, but if you read his AI stack, right, he did talk about how we would use our stack to export it to the rest of the world. And when you look at Pax Silica, that's what it looks like. Pax Silica is a US-led initiative. And it's Pax Silica. So, like Pax Romana, Pax Britannica, Pax Americana. Now we're entering Pax Silica. So Pax is like a time of peace, but essentially a better way to think of it would be a time of hegemony. And so they're now replacing the Pax Americana with Pax Silica, which is the
Pax, you're saying? PAX?
Yeah. So Pax is like the Latin term for peace.
Okay.
So people typically think of it like a peacetime, but it's really, I'm saying a better way to think of it is hegemony.
Courtney, I appreciate you so much you're so patient with me.
No.
I really sometimes just feel so completely overwhelmed, and I understand why a lot of people just go, you know what? I don't want to hear any of it. I quit. I'm just going to keep watching TV and living my little life and having my little barbecues and doing this and that and just you do your thing. I'm not even going to vote. I'm not going to get involved. I understand now why a lot of people are getting to that point. I think it's sad. I wish they wouldn't. I wish they would get more involved, actually, because maybe we could change direction. Is that possible for at least the United States?
Well, I think that there's things people can do. I don't know about like the overall like end goal kind of, if the Bible is the blueprint, I don't know. Like that's again not my place to speak. But what I can say is we can definitely make a difference. I mean, we've seen historically that humans have changed the course of history. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that we make is to give up our power and to tune out. And I think that we absolutely should do, we can. It's not going to look the same for everyone. It's the question I get asked all the time. People want a one and done smoking gun, just like the people who want a one boogeyman. Things are not that simple. There's not one shadowy cabal, in a smoky filled room who's plotting the new world order.
Well, in my world, there is.
Maybe the devil, maybe Satan.
Exactly.
That is, if there is a one finger.
It all starts there.
Well, other than that, though, I don't think there is. People want to, make it.
I know the Rockefellers. It's all the Rockefellers,
Rothschild, the Jews,
the Rothschilds, right?
I mean, they make up all.
It's the Jews. It's all the Jews.
And it's such nonsense. The world is just not that simple. The best analogy I can use is if you think about like organized crime. The head mafioso guy doesn't do his own bidding, right? He has lots of minions. And
you cut off the head and the snake will keep writhing around still, as we've seen in Iran. Yes. There's no actual government. We took it out. It's the army that's basically calling the shots now, isn't it? Who are we even negotiating with? That whole thing is just so insane at this point to me. Memorandum of understanding? What the heck?
The memorandum of understanding, but I think if you read this, you'll have a better sense of what that's all about.
I got to do it. And then I got to have you on again. I got to have you on again. And I want to be smarter when I have you on again.
Well, I know we have limited time, but I do want to answer your question about the theosophy because it's very important.
Please. Yeah.
Theosophy is the driver behind the UN in many ways. So Madame Blavatsky founded the Theosophical Society back in 1875. And she wasn't alone. I think there were about 17 members, people like Quan Judge and Henry Steele Alcott. So they formed this Theosophical Society. She describes theosophy as explicitly being a perennial philosophy. So she says that it's they welcome all different religions of the world and different philosophies except traditional Judaism and traditional Christianity, with the exception of Orthodox Christianity.
How about that?
She came from, Russia. And that was her upbringing. So actually, it was Alice Bailey's upbringing as well. Interestingly enough, they were both Orthodox Christians. So they welcomed Orthodox Christianity, capital O, big O, but
which is nothing but man-based tradition crap.
I have much more nuanced kind of perspectives on that, and I do talk about it in the.
I'm sure you do. I always boil it down to hardly.
I don't want to be disrespectful, but there's especially the modern kind of populist circuit that is the ortho bro community, if you will. That's what a lot of people call it. They're using concepts like theosis in ways that kind of blur the essence and essences, kind of distinction that would be the creator creation distinction. They're blurring it in a sense where it becomes like a theosis, which is like an emanationist kind of, which is not actually how it's written in Orthodox, but that is how they're kind of popularizing it. And I have some theories on that I do think are kind of related to transhumanists. That's not to say that that's true of the Orthodox Church, but
isn't that what the devil did to tempt Eve? Did God really say that? Is that what he really meant?
Well, they tried to demonize Eve, which is, that's a whole nother conversation. But I just want to make clear, I'm not demonizing what the Orthodox Church actually teaches. It's what people in the more like podcast sphere who popularize our teaching that is not, it's not true to, Christianity.
Well, they're so smart, they can figure out a better way and what it actually means because they have some kind of understanding above the rest of it.
So okay, back to theosophy. So she talks about, and she in her writing, she says it's predicated on the teachings obviously of the Eastern mystics and Hindu, Buddhism, but also and mostly inspired by the Neoplatonists. So like Plotinus and Origen and Porphyry and Proclus. So the Neoplatonism is an emanationist philosophy. It's about, rising to the one. So everything is essentially one. It's a pantheist type of philosophy. She takes it to, in some cases, it's panentheist, but essentially it's a pantheistic, and it's a very much inversion of the biblical framework. Her magazine was called Lucifer Magazine. And then her disciple, Alice Bailey, started Lucifer Publishing.
Great.
And Lucifer Publishing was changed in 1924 to Lucis Trust. Lucis Trust, even today, has consultancy status with the UN. So the Lucis Trust is very influential. It's kind of like the spiritual arm in many ways of the UN. And she has many schools. So she has Lucis Trust. She has the Triangle School, which you can go around to the website and see all of their, esoteric teachings. That's what it is. It's esoteric teachings. And then she's got the Goodwill, and they meet every 7 years. And the Goodwill servers are the ones who will let the path of love and light work out, which sounds great, but it is Luciferian. And so Triangles, Lucis Trust, World Goodwill, and I might be blanking. There might be one more, but yeah. So that's Alice Bailey. And interestingly enough, both Alice Bailey and Annie Besant, who was also a theosophist, and Madame Blavatsky were co-Freemasons. So there's no women in Freemasonry, but they were co-Freemasons. And Bailey's husband...
it was that Eastern Star, I think it is, or something
but it wasn't. This was actually co-Freemasonry. So it wasn't...
Wow.
It was a branch of Masonry called co-Freemasonry. And Bailey's husband,
there it is, back to the Masons.
Yes. Bailey's husband was a high-level Freemason, Foster Bailey.
Yeah. I got it in my family.
Yeah. And there are many good people who have no idea
until they get to the 33rd level, and then it's all revealed. Oh, by the way, we're worshiping Satan. We didn't tell you that in the beginning because we figured you weren't ready.
I don't even know that that's true for every lodge. It's very decentralized. So there are people who are 33rd in certain lodges have no clue, honestly. But what it is, the reason why it's so easy to infiltrate, and this is what Alice Bailey said. She said that her adept, her ascended master, told her that her purpose was to create the future one world religion, and
Her ascended master.
Her spirit or demon, however you perceive it, but they helped her helped her write 24 books. And so she explicitly says, though, that in that part of the goal is to create this one world religion, and that the Masonry would be so useful because it is decentralized and they could become this brotherhood. But if you look back in history,
different than any other satanic. This is just like Islam. Everyone's going to be Islam. Everyone's going to worship Muhammad. Everyone's going to.
Well, I just want to point out centralized nature, because this is
demonic cults, isn't it?
Well, if you look at historically, this is documented history. Part of the reason the Illuminati used the Masonry to infiltrate was because it was so decentralized. So it's not a unified system, but because it's so decentralized, it was easier to infiltrate. You could infiltrate in specific lodges and disperse, and you could permeate. Right. So it becomes one of the themes I talk about in the Factory Reset is this. It's this model called SPIN, segmented polycephalous integrated networks. And this was Gerlach and Hein came up with this theory back in the 70s. And it was part of the Changing Images of Man document in the appendix. But this is the idea that essentially you have converging kinds of shared ideology, worldviews, funding apparatus that kind of converge. So you don't, again, it goes back to, you don't have the one, smoking gun. It's not the one shadowy head. It's, like a hydra, and they tend to converge. And I think that that's a very useful model to look at.
Wow. Courtney, man, you rocked my world in just 45 minutes here. Wow. Okay, where do we find your books? How do we find and follow what you're doing, and watch your podcast?
So you can find the book. It is on Amazon, and we have the audio. The audio is 3.5 hours, so there's like no excuse. It's like a long drive. But we have the audio, we have the Kindle and the paperback. And if you want signed copies from Patrick, then go to technocracy.news and /store. And if you get even more than one copy on his site, you'll get a discount there. There's also books.by. If you're outside the United States, they do much cheaper shipping rate. So books.by /Patrick Wood. And then for me, I have Courtenay. I spell my name like Courtenay. It's Courtney, but it's COURTENAY .show. And that's where you can find my Substack, the book link, my podcast, and all of my socials and all that, and my website.
What's your website again?
It's CourtenayTurner.com. So CourtenayTurner.com.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow. You're amazing. Can we do this again?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, sooner than later, not wait a year.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. That's on me. Next time it's on me. I'll book it. I'll make it happen. And again, I truly appreciate your patience. I'm obviously sincere in wanting to know more and wanted to consider all angles and all sides. I'm obviously sincere in that.
Yeah,
I'm not faking this at all. I'm a very intelligent man who doesn't have much education, if that makes sense.
No, I get that.
It's kind of like the Charlie Kirk thing. I'm no Charlie Kirk, but I am above average intelligence. But look at my pursuits in life. It's all about been peace, love, and happiness. And everybody, let's just have a party. That's just my DNA.
Well,
so
we need that too.
I want to know more about these kind of things. I want to know more about it. And you've got me really thinking a lot about President Trump. And
yeah, and I don't say any of this to like be a doomer or to black pill people. I want
truth. I want truth,
yeah.
even if it's not something I want to hear.
Shine a light, because we can't defeat a threat we don't know exists, right? That's why the best way to shoot is from behind. So we want to be aware, and also so that we can have agency. I do think there's a lot of things that we can do to push back, especially, in our space, starting with our personal lives, our families, our communities. And that's not to say, people say when, say everything local, I know people push back on that, but that is a good place to start. And I'm not saying
I don't know why anybody would push back on that. I think, act locally, impact nationally.
I think there's a lot that we can do at the local level, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And, that starts with yourself. There's so much you can do in your own life, changes you can make, certainly with your family. I think it's really important. I've been thinking a lot. I don't have a lot of time and I don't have a lot of resources, but I've been thinking a lot about doing a children's series, because I think they're really not being taught. And I'd like to distill a lot of these concepts for them. Because I think that that's something tremendous that we can do. And I think it's incumbent upon us to do so, to teach and arm the future.
I fully agree. That's one of the things that put Rush Limbaugh at hero status with me, was when he started writing and publishing children's books. Rush Revere, remember that?
Mm-hmm. I do.
I just thought that's extraordinary. Thank you for doing that. And then we've got other conservatives, and who are the twins who have written a lot of children's books. I'm not thinking of their names right now. I'm just so grateful for that. I think that's that's exactly where we should be starting. Teach them when they're young the ways of the Lord, and when they grow old, they will not depart from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's biblical. Thank you, COURTENAY.
Yeah.
You're a blessing. You're such a blessing. I just think you're fantastic. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And we'll do this again when I have more time. I could probably do this for 2 or 3 hours. So I don't know if you want to sit through all that, but I just have so many questions when it comes to this kind of stuff. Well, what about this? And how about that? And how do we apply scripture and so on? Ultimately, it all boils down to that, doesn't it? That's, for me, the basis of everything. And I always pray like the Lord himself taught us to pray, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's what I pray for. Your will be done, Father. Your will be done. And I want to be in alignment with that. And I don't want to be fooled. I don't want to be fooled. All right, my friend. Thank you so much for the time. Please go to my website and buy yourself one of these mugs right here. Let's see. There's my remote. Let's talk about politics and religion. And I got hats and shirts. I got all kinds of stuff there. And you help the show grow that way. I appreciate you buying this merchandise and sharing it with others. Thank you so much. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most importantly, America, bless God.